Well, this week's been a really great gardening week, and I've got to say, I love getting to this point, which is all replanted or near enough replanted for autumn, winter, and spring. And it really is a big milestone. And to kind of celebrate that milestone, we reduce the number of people we grow for. We're in this transition. We've just sort of reached the peak, and we replanted everything, and so we're in quite a dip in terms of the harvest volumes. And so we normally grow for about 16 people, and so from now on until probably April, May time perhaps, we're only going to grow for 11 people. It means a lot less work for us. It takes the pressure off the beds, and it's just winter. It's just nice to kick back and relax a little bit, and it just makes the harvest period a little bit shorter for us. Knocks probably an hour off the harvest on Sunday, although this week we did it on Saturday. I always find it amazing how much stuff you have to have in the ground in order to keep harvesting over winter. And I've tried to calculate it. I'm never quite totally comfortable with the figures, but I think it's something like 6 times as much food. So 6 times as much spinach, 6 times as much lettuce, 6 times as much kale, that sort of thing, as you need in summer. That is a lot of space, and that is why the range of food that we can grow over winter is quite limited, as well as obviously limited by the weather conditions and the amount of light that we're getting. And we're quite high up, in the northwest of England, so light levels here are not fantastic. And honestly, I pity somebody who's up in Scotland, for example. It must be even more difficult. Of course, we've got a well-stocked store and loads of preserves, and that makes all the difference in terms of the range of foods that we can have to eat during that winter period. We've also got 2 freezers, and they're fully stocked as well, although we don't really freeze that much by comparison with the amount that we eat fresh. I would say 70-80% of what we eat is fresh. And we're always being asked to do a video about what we eat each week. We are working on some sort of recipe database so that you can see the sorts of things that we eat and link that to the sorts of things we grow at different times of year. And I will do a video at some point showing you what we actually get through in a week. But let's just focus on the diary for now. So first off, Monday, it was a fantastic day, brilliant weather. I went to Lytham actually to start my day, and I worked there for about an hour, and that just gives me time to wake up. And then I walked along the promenade there, which is really beautiful, and there was an amazing sunset behind the windmill. Unfortunately, the windmill has lost one of its sails, and so I've put up a photo from last year, pretty much exactly the same date, showing the windmill in all its glory, because it would be a shame to see it with only 3 sails. Anyway, I drove from there up to the Rivington Reservoir system. I was going to go to the Leeks this week, but unfortunately I just had so much to do on the allotment that I compromised, and we went to to Rivington, and we had a great hike. It was really fantastic. As I say, the weather was perfect, and it was dry enough underfoot, and it was nice to see the reservoirs in good condition there. Those aren't actually the reservoirs that we get our water from. We get ours from Hawes Water in the Lake District, but the Rivington Reservoir system is what I think it's all the Liverpool area, basically Chorley, Liverpool around there gets their water, and it looks pretty good. It's not full, but it's a long way away from being empty. So on Monday afternoon, I stopped off at the allotment on my way back and unloaded a bit of compost from the car, and I'm having to import a bit of compost onto the allotment at the moment. Because my composting system, good though it is, isn't quite up to full speed, but hopefully next year I shall be importing a lot less. And I've been using well-rotted cow manure, and I really like the feel of it. It seems really a lovely consistency, and it breaks up well, and it's nice and fluffy and fine. So I'm pretty pleased with that. The stuff I've been getting is from Levington's. We'll have to see how it goes over the course of a year, of course, to see how really good it is and how many weed seeds there are in it. But for now, it looks pretty good. I cleared the polytunnel beds that had got the pak choi and the tatsoi in them, and those were a bonus crop that I could put in because I took the tomatoes out early because of blight. We had a lovely crop from those, And we also got a great radish crop, and we've got a turnip crop still to harvest, and we've got a bonus lettuce crop in there as well. And that's been really great. But we've got loads of pak choi and tatsoi out on the main allotment plot now. We just don't need the extra in the polytunnel, so I took that up and got that bed prepared, ready for replanting on Tuesday. So I had my usual lazy morning on Tuesday, but the whole of the afternoon I spent on the allotment, and my main objective was to get the polytunnel sorted out. So out went all the last few tomatoes, the cucumbers, the celery, the basil, and a lot of weeds. And in went the main lettuce bed that's going in the polytunnel. Now we will have smaller lettuce beds in there as well, and we've got loads of lettuce outside, of course, but it's a pretty important planting to get done, that one, because that's the first one that's going to get to maturity in, well, probably about 4 weeks' time, something like that. And we're going to need that bed because we've only got one other bed of lettuce really that's currently being harvested. So it really is a kind of race against time. As that bed slows down, this new one needs to come on stream really quickly. And I gave the polytunnel just a general real tidy up. I spend a lot of time actually, probably as much as an hour a day in the polytunnel over winter. I just find it's a lovely place to be. It's, you know, it's so bright, it's often very nice and warm, and the quality there, you know, it's so fresh in there. It's just, and it's so peaceful. I just like to sit in there, you know, when I'm pottering around the plot. As I say, I like to go there at least for an hour a day. It really is just a wonderful place to be honest. And that's one of the reasons why Debbie and I really wanted a polytunnel in the back garden. We're not going to do that now. We're going to have a greenhouse, but it just, you know, both of us just really like the feel of it, especially in the colder seasons. It's it's just such a relaxing place to spend time. So October and November are the best times really for sunsets here. They're just timed at the perfect point for me during the day. So just after dinner, basically, I can see the sky starting to colour up a little bit, and so I'll go out for an evening walk. And yeah, it was a pretty nice sunset, and so I'll share that one with you, and hopefully lots of much better ones to come. So Wednesday was pretty much a repeat of Tuesday. I had a nice relaxing morning, back on the allotment again, and I really got stuck in to, they've got two big jobs I wanted to get done. And the first of those was to get the peppers cleared. I managed to get the first of the pepper beds cleared and gave a huge number of green peppers away, which were incredibly popular. It kind of surprises us a little bit because we don't generally eat green peppers, but so many people were so keen to get their hands on them. We got like a little swap shop area on the allotment where we can put stuff to give away. And yeah, there was just like constant stream of people. Look at these peppers. So it was really nice for me to listen to that from my plot as I was working. So after clearing the peppers, reconditioned that bed and got it all fully replanted with spinach. And then I got all these turnips, 2 half trays of turnips, separated by about a week. And I thought, there's no way I'm going to bring these to maturity outside, and I've got no undercover space for them. In the end, what I did was I cleared some spinach that was just on the verge of going to seed, so I wasn't going to get much of a harvest from it. And I moved the low tunnel that had been over the peppers and put that over these turnips. I think now that I stand a 50-50 chance of getting them to maturity. It depends how quickly the leaves fall off the tree that's above that bed, because at the moment they're just not getting enough light. But if we get a lot of leaf fall, then hopefully they'll get enough light, and maybe we might just get that extra turnip crop. We have got quite a few turnips in the ground, but you know, we just like to keep all these crops growing as long as we can. So it was nice to get them planted. I don't like composting seedlings. And I was going to stay and work longer, but unfortunately I started with a migraine, and I always know that if I start with a migraine, there's pretty much nothing I can do about it other than take some meds and go to sleep. So I did one quick job, which was just to plant the garlic, and I planted about 70 garlic, which is about a third of our total amount of garlic, and got that mulched and then got home as quickly as possible. Unfortunately, I managed to sleep off the migraine. I used to get migraines actually like 2 or 3 times a week. It was quite debilitating at one point. Right from childhood all the way through until my probably sort of mid-40s, late 40s perhaps. And when I retired and sort of pace of life slowed down, I only get them like once a week, once a month now, so it's pretty good. So on Thursday I skipped the health club, but I did get my cafe stop. But I really wanted to get down the allotment. I had just so much to get done this week. So out went the final pepper bed, and we got a lot of peppers now ripening in the hall, and they are ripening really well, so we're not going to lose very many of them, I don't think. And got that reconditioned, and half that bed went to lettuce and the other half went to spinach, and all of those got interplanted with onions, spring onions. Spring onions might actually be the more important of those crops, and so we don't kind of compromise, so I reduce the density a little bit of the lettuce and the spinach, because spring onions are incredibly healthy and incredibly tasty, and they really are at their best, I think, in over winter. They're just so crunchy and crisp and mild as well, but plenty of taste to them. And I was pretty pleased when I did the harvest today, which is Saturday, to find that we actually have spring onions ready. So we planted some ramrod, sowed those in mid-July, I think, and just ready for harvest now. So they're it takes quite a long time to get them to harvest. And I find I really can't sow them very successfully before about the middle of July. Onions just don't do very well when sown in midsummer. So you generally have to wait until August, which means you're generally into November before you're eating them. So that means a long time without spring onions, and since they're one of my favourite salad ingredients, that's quite a challenge. This year, though, I did something interesting to me at least. I sowed a lot of North Holland blood red bulbing onions, and I planted them at spring onion density, so that they only grew to about this sort of size, and they were super sweet. Really lovely, and obviously the tops weren't very good quality, but the actual little bulbs are absolutely delicious. So next year what we're going to do is do a whole bed of those. So probably, I don't know, 200 or 300 of them probably in a square metre. So really, really high planting density, and just get loads of small bulbs so that we've got a really abundant supply of what won't be spring onions, but will be great salad onions all the way through that period from kind of the middle of July, as I said, through to about now, when the spring onions finally arrive. And I mentioned earlier this really important salad bed that we've got that's got 80% of the salad in it that's currently being harvested, and it happens to be to the north of the asparagus bed, and so right now it's getting almost no sun. This happens every year. This is the only bed that we've got really for salads at that time of year, and so I cut the asparagus down, and I always cut it down about this time, and I know a lot of people leave it much longer than I do and let it die back almost naturally. I don't like to do that. I find it's a lot easier to cut and chop up when it's a little bit greener. It accelerates compost a little bit faster as well when you do that. But also I've just noticed it makes no difference whatsoever to the harvest that we get. So, and I'm just comparing that with other people on the allotment. Our asparagus seems to do just as well, if not better than anybody else's, despite being cut back, a month, 6 weeks earlier than everybody else's. So, if you find that you really have to do that, like I do, don't be fearful of it. It seems to cope just fine. So by the end of Thursday, we were pretty much done, and it's a really lovely feeling to get the whole plot replanted. And of course, it never ends. We've always got a little bit to do, but that little bit now is perhaps no more than an hour a week of planting from now until probably February, March time, really. It's a very relaxing period, made more relaxing by the fact that there's almost no watering to do, although I will do a video about watering undercover beds, polytunnels, greenhouses and things like that, because there is a little bit of a knack to it. And almost no weeding, because all the perennial weeds, the mare's tail, the bindweed and stuff, all of that is finishing effectively now. So there are a few annual weeds, but I mean it's nothing by comparison with those perennials, which are a real pain. So weeding goes from being a huge chore to something that I can do, you know, well, basically just as I'm doing the harvest. It's a trivial exercise, really. And of course, harvest volumes have reduced as well, and the number of people we're harvesting for. So everything is kind of comes together to make the whole allotment experience in winter, autumn and winter, so relaxing. And it really amazes me that people don't grow over winter more kind of passionately, really, because it is just so much fun. As I say, it's hardly any work, but it just gives you somewhere nice to get out and about and potter around, getting loads of fresh air and what little sunshine there is. And as I say, I will pretty much go there every day for half an hour, something like that, every morning perhaps. And if I'm out hiking or cycling or something like that, I'll pop in as part of that trip. Yeah, I highly recommend it. It's just a great, that kind of little bonus pastime in winter. And it's not, you don't need a rest from gardening when you've got such a small amount of gardening to do. You just really look forward to it. So on Friday, Debbie and I drove to Cleveland's. Now, Cleveland's is actually one of my favourite places to cycle to. It's about an hour's cycle ride. And we think of it as like Little Cornwall. It's an amazing beach. It's really undulating, and it's got loads of really attractive breakwaters and lots of pools of water on the beach, which just make it, you know, visually really appealing. And the sea's really good there. It gets quite rough, and you can definitely hear the sound of the waves. And there's fantastic walks and promenades and things there, as well as nice little cafes and things. It's really great. As I say, it's one of our favourite places to pop down to. And then if you kind of walk north from Cleveland's towards Fleetwood, there's an amazing new promenade that's been built on top of a new sea defence that's been constructed there. And that's really interesting as well. And there's a lovely beach walk that you can go on. And the way that they've done it there is they put groins in to stop the sand moving along the beach and to reduce the force of the waves a little bit. And that would make it really difficult to walk along the beach because you'd have to clamber over these rocky groins. But they put these little bridges in over the groins. It just makes it really attractive. And I just walk along the beach just so I can walk along those little bridges. I'm sad like that. And yeah, so Debbie and I, we filmed some footage for the walk and talk videos while we were there, which was really nice because Debbie doesn't really get involved in these videos. But she really enjoyed shooting some of that footage and sort of giving me some creative input on shot angles and things like that. So yeah, that was nice. It only took about half an hour out of the day, but and we both enjoyed it. So when I got back, I thought it was time to give the garden a bit of TLC. So I cut the grass and gave it a bit of a weed and a bit of a tidy up. And so the garden is pretty much finished now. I also harvested, I don't know whether I covered this in the last video, I can't remember exactly when I did it, but I harvested the beetroot, the last of the outside beetroot, and I was really pleased with that harvest too. And so we're now all stocked up for beetroot. I think we've got more beetroot than we've ever had before in the store. And I like beetroot, I have it every day. So Saturday was harvest day, as I said, because it's going to be raining tomorrow. So I popped to Lytham Cafe Nero and to catch up with some friends, and I was there for about 90 minutes, and then I walked along the prom, which is a favourite thing to do in Lytham. It's a really beautiful prom there. If you've never been, I highly recommend it. And then popped to the allotment, did the harvest. As I say, it was quick and easy, a lot less people to pick for, but the weather was good and the harvest was good. I'm pretty pleased with it, so I'll show you the harvest now. So as you can see, we're definitely in autumn mode now. We're only harvesting for 11 people. Unfortunately, we had to stop harvesting for 5 of our friends, but they understand. So let's have a quick walk through. Obviously lettuce bases at the front. 3 weeks worth of potatoes there, so we don't get through that many potatoes in a week. And we're just harvesting them fresh from the compost. These are Cara, these are Sarpamira, which have not done very well this year. And these are Charlottes, which have done amazing. It's always good to have a few varieties. And then we've got pak choi and tatsoi all the way across the front here. Loads of spinach. Loads more pak choi. And these are not the last of the peppers, but a good sample of the peppers that we picked this week and a few last week that we've ripened up this week. And I'm actually trying some of these baby leeks fresh in the salad mixes, so we'll see how those go. And in here we've got some oca leaves, and these are so incredibly lemony. It's the oxalic acid in them, so you wouldn't want to eat too many, but we're going to sprinkle those in the salad mixes to give them a bit of extra zing. And we finally got spring onions again, or salad onions again. So those are going to go in the salad mixes, and I am so looking forward to those because we haven't had them for about 6 weeks and we've just been using little salad onions instead. Last of the baby cucumbers and the last of the tomatoes until the late tomatoes kick in. Brussels sprouts, and I've just remembered I haven't picked any colettes, so I have to pick some of those. And field bean tops, I think there's 2 boxes of those, there's maybe another one down there. Carrots, looking nice. Radishes, looking gorgeous. And we're doing a bit of apple dehydrating right now, and just look at that. Great jelly. Okay, I can't get it in the light. There we go. That is gorgeous. And we've just got some fennel seeds, a few pears, parsnips, leeks, cooking apples, eating apples, salad carrots, strawberries for my fruit salad, turnips. I think this is probably the last harvest of the courgettes. I don't think they're going to get much bigger than that given how cold it is at night now. And all the mixed brassica leaves, so there's loads there. Brussels sprout leaves, kale leaves, colette leaves, etc. And the first tray of peas, which we're just growing for the shoots. And we do roughly a tray every 3 weeks, and we take 3 harvests off each tray before we compost them. So that, I think, is pretty much everything for our weekly harvest. We do sometimes do a little bit in between, but it's looking quite nice. And this is our objective now, is to keep a table roughly this size going all through the year. We never quite achieve it, but that's the objective that we're aiming for. So I just picked the colettes, and we've obviously forgot the stuff from the store. So we've got some onions and some garlic and some shallots and some beetroot. So hopefully, I'll do a video actually of the store, show you what we've got another day. So I just finished the salad mixes. I think these are some of the nicest that I've ever made. They are gorgeous. So there you go. My name's Steve. This is Seaside Kitchen Garden and Allotment channel. Hope you like this quick gardening week update. I'll see you soon.